As Formula One approaches its 2026 reset, quiet tension is building in the paddock. At the center of it are Max Verstappen, Red Bull Racing, and the RB22, a car that may be reshaping the competitive order before the first race even begins. What started as routine preseason running has reportedly uncovered a deeper issue that could carry serious consequences. This isn't a problem that shows up clearly in the data. It's subtle, difficult to trace, and potentially decisive. Sources suggest Verstappen felt irregularities in power delivery and balance that standard telemetry struggled to explain. In a sport decided by thousandths of a second, those sensations matter, and sometimes they define championships. A new era, a new risk. The RB22 represents more than a new chassis. It is Red Bull's first Formula One car, built around a fully in-house power unit program in partnership with Ford. Developed under the radically revised 2026 regulations. The new rules split power delivery evenly between internal combustion and electrical energy, placing unprecedented importance on hybrid integration, energy management, and system harmony. On paper, Red Bull entered this era with confidence. Years of aerodynamic dominance, deep technical resources, and continuity in leadership suggested a smooth transition. But new regulations rarely reward reputation. They reward adaptability. The RB22 is not just fast, it is complex, and complexity introduces fragility. From Verstappen's first meaningful runs, the car reportedly exhibited behavior that felt inconsistent. Not slower, not unstable in the obvious sense, but unpredictable in how and when it delivered performance. These are the kinds of traits that don't always ruin a lap, but they erode confidence, tire life, and long-run consistency. When drivers feel what data can't. What makes this situation unusual is not the existence of anomalies. Every new Formula One car has them, but who identified them and how early? Verstappen is known throughout the paddock not just for speed, but for sensitivity. His ability to detect minute changes in balance, torque delivery, and traction has become a competitive asset in itself. In this case, he reportedly noticed fluctuations in hybrid deployment that altered corner exits and acceleration phases. Telemetry showed nothing obviously broken. Software checks returned nominal results. Yet the car behaved differently depending on load, speed, and energy state. That gap between what the data says and what the driver feels is where the real danger lies. These inconsistencies are believed to stem from the interaction between the new power unit, battery systems, and the chassis itself. In isolation, each system performs as designed. Together, under race-like stress, they may amplify each other's weaknesses. Suspension, aerodynamics, and a narrow window. Adding to the challenge is the RB22's mechanical layout. Red Bull has reportedly adopted a revised front suspension philosophy to align with 2026 aerodynamic constraints. While legal and theoretically efficient, the design changes how load transfers through the car, especially in high-speed direction changes. Under those conditions, Verstappen is said to have felt moments where the car's balance shifted unexpectedly, not enough to cause dramatic slides, but enough to complicate precise driving. In Formula One, that distinction matters. A car that surprises its driver at the limit is not just difficult, it is expensive over a season. The issue appears most pronounced when hybrid deployment, suspension compression, and aerodynamic load peak simultaneously. That makes it especially relevant on fast circuits and during qualifying laps, where everything happens at once. Preseason testing rewritten. Once the anomaly became clear, Red Bull's entire preseason approach reportedly shifted. Instead of focusing purely on lap time extraction and aerodynamic optimization, significant resources were redirected toward diagnosis and correlation. Every lap became dual-purpose, push for performance while probing for inconsistencies. Wind tunnel runs, CFD models, and simulation work were adjusted to reflect Verstappen's feedback, not just numerical targets. This is a crucial point. In modern Formula One, teams trust data. But when a driver consistently feels something the numbers can't explain, teams that listen gain an edge. This recalibration came at a cost. Time spent diagnosing is time not spent optimizing. And in a new regulation cycle, early gains compound quickly. The psychological load. For Verstappen, the role extends beyond driving. He is now a central technical reference point, tasked with translating instinct into actionable engineering feedback. That is a heavy burden, especially when expectations remain sky-high. Engineers must interpret his sensations correctly. Fix the wrong thing, and the car may lose its strengths. Ignore the warning signs, and the problem could resurface when it matters most. The margin for error is razor thin. This dynamic highlights a broader shift in Formula One. Elite drivers are no longer just performers. They are integral components of development loops, capable of steering technical direction as much as any simulation model. Rivals are paying attention. None of this is unfolding in isolation, and the rest of the grid knows it. Teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren may not have access to Red Bull's internal telemetry, but that hardly limits their ability to observe. Sector times are compared run by run, speed trap figures are logged and cross-referenced, and even the length and structure of Red Bull's test stints are scrutinized for intent. In modern Formula One, how a team runs is often as revealing as how fast it runs. Even the faintest hint of inconsistency can reshape competitor behavior. If Red Bull shows variability across laps, rivals begin adjusting simulation assumptions. Development programs may be redirected towards circuits or scenarios where Red Bull appears less stable. What might look like routine preseason running from the outside quickly becomes a live intelligence exercise. In that sense, Max Verstappen's discovery has transformed testing into a strategic chess match. Every lap is interpreted, every setup change sends a message, and every delay raises questions about what Red Bull is really trying to solve. Hybrid complexity at the core. At the heart of the situation lies the RB22's hybrid system, a cornerstone of the 2026 regulations and one of the most technically demanding aspects of the new era. Sources indicate that energy recovery and deployment do not always synchronize perfectly with driver inputs, particularly during corner exits and rapid throttle applications. These moments are critical, as they determine how quickly a car accelerates onto straights and how stable it feels when traction is marginal. On a single qualifying lap, such behavior might translate into the loss of a few tenths. Over a full race distance, however, the consequences are far broader. Inconsistent energy delivery can accelerate tire degradation, complicate thermal management, and reduce overtaking effectiveness. Under the 2026 rules, where electric power contributes a significantly larger share of total output, these effects are magnified. Red Bull engineers are reportedly running extensive simulations across a wide range of circuit profiles, high-speed tracks, traction-limited layouts, and mixed conditions to map when and why the behavior emerges. The unresolved question is whether this can be corrected through calibration and software refinement, or whether it reflects a deeper interaction issue between the power unit, battery systems, and chassis. Regulatory pressure looms. Compounding the technical challenge is the watchful presence of the FIA. While there is no suggestion that Red Bull has crossed any regulatory lines, Formula One history shows that unconventional performance characteristics inevitably draw attention. Rival teams are quick to raise questions about anything they do not fully understand, and formal protests remain a standard tactical tool within the sport. For Red Bull, this means every fix must be approached cautiously. Solutions that improve consistency or performance must also remain unquestionably compliant. Under a fresh regulatory framework, even small changes can invite scrutiny if they appear to exploit gray areas. In Formula One, raw speed is meaningless if it leads to penalties, forced redesigns, or political battles that drain focus and resources. Navigating this balance between optimization and compliance is now part of the challenge surrounding the RB22. Why early detection matters. If there is one advantage in this situation, it is timing. Identifying potential issues before the season begins gives Red Bull room to maneuver. Engineers can experiment with alternative mappings, hardware interactions, and setup philosophies without the pressure of championship points. Drivers can adapt their style, and the team can refine race strategies around a clearer understanding of the car's behavior. Problems discovered mid-season are far more damaging. They limit development freedom, force reactive fixes, and often require compromises that linger for months. Whether this anomaly becomes a minor footnote or a defining storyline of 2026, will depend entirely on how effectively Red Bull responds now. Resolve it fully, and the RB22 could emerge as one of the most complete and resilient cars of the new era. Fail to do so, and early races may expose vulnerabilities that rivals will exploit relentlessly. The 2026 season is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable we've seen in years, and this Red Bull story is only just beginning. If you want to stay ahead of every technical twist, rivalry shift, and championship-defining moment, you're in the right place. Make sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.